Local councils, town and parish councils, first tier local government. We're very proud to be associated with the work of the big society in localism, and you'd expect us to be, because we have got that 9,000 town and parish councils across England. We're growing, we're having newer councils coming aboard every year, and we have got 90,000 councillors, many of them equipped and skilled within the movement to in fact take forward local government. And I hope the others will indeed move forward and accelerate the opportunity of change in the Big Society programme. We're here today to talk about partnership and interdependence. I have the opportunity to have with us a councillor from Sevenoaks, Councillor Parry, who in fact is a Conservative, and is just going to speak of his example of localism in action in Sevenoaks. So over to Councillor Parry.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Richard Parry. I'm a town councillor in Sevenoaks. I'm also a Sevenoaks County Councillor, and I sit on both of those councils strongly political and both Conservative control. Sevenoaks is a small town, 20,000 population, 25 miles from London. It is a rich town. It's one of the 10 richest towns in the UK, and many of our citizens go into London to work in the city or into other centres of business, or especially into Docklands. Big banking, big insurance agglomeration. We have pockets of deprivation, and to be poor in Sevenoaks is pretty awful, because you're sitting in your social housing, wondering how you're going to pay your bills, and over the wall, and literally in one of our social houses, are £4 million house with a choice of 4x4s and several little pairs. It's tough. We've had increased unemployment in Sevenoaks. It's doubled. It's still not enormous, but it's doubled. And the people who've become unemployed are very unaware of what unemployment is, because these are high flyers, they're managers, they're fund managers, they're self-sufficient, they don't know what to do really. And if you've ever been to a job centre, and I in the 90s did, it's a pretty depressing place. And the last government took away our job centre. So the first thing we did as a town council, just before the recession, we put in a job club. And we have been quite successful in taking people, like one, as one would say, across the whole strata of the unemployed and giving them the skills which they didn't have. And this is, we've tried to get connections to come back, the job centre to come back and get involved. So I look at the MPs and say, we need to get on this act and get them back to where people need them. It's pretty soul destroying to have to spend £10 to go down to Tunbridge Wells to deal with the matter and come back and you've had nothing to satisfy. So that's the first thing we did, and we have a success ratio of something like 40% of the people of the job clubs get jobs. Now I'm not saying we've done that, we're just part of the process. The really big thing we've done is the District Council, Conservative control, had for the second time let the local arts complex under private management go into bankruptcy. They did not have their eye on the ball. We'll tell you, if they were running my business, I'd be terrified. They wanted to close it, we made a bid, and a town council, our precept is just under £750,000. And we made a decision and put an action plan and a bid together in 2 months. If anybody here is a councillor, to get something done at that speed is incredible. Sevenoaks is obviously very good. In that bid, I had to stand back because I'm a county councillor. The county also bid. And I have to say, and I don't think any of my county councillors, their bid was dreadful compared to the little town council. They assumed, and I did warn them about this, because they were big, they'd get the bid. They didn't get the bid. We got it. Huge leap of faith and a reputational for the town council and the Conservative Party. We've had it now for 18 months and it has proved a success. Our initial business plan asked us to get 100 bookings in the theatre. This year we have 210. The thing is running as close to profit as you can in a thing that lives on. We have 400 volunteers and we have created 22 full-time jobs there. We have lots of other people who are part-time, who give their thing for nothing, and we have 8 people on the Future Jobs Fund, which I'm afraid you're going to take away from us. I really think that within the cuts you should go back and think that again. It does do a lot for young people. So the 2 big successes of Sevenoaks are getting people back in the unemployment, reviving this theatre complex, which has 2 cinemas, 3D and 7X, 210 shows a year, voted by The Guardian as the 4th best comedy club in the UK, function suite, and we have renewed the lifetime economy of 7Oaks. In fact, the district, who wanted to close this, now gets their £18,000 in car parking money from people parking to come to our theatre. So there you go, that's the intro of what a small town parish council can do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that example, Richard, and we need more across the country sharing of good practice, and NALC is very pleased to record those, and within the local council review, which you'll see at the front, there are examples of that kind of programme. Can I also draw your attention to what is localism, and the speakers you're now going to have contributing have all put an article into this publication, so that is available. I'm delighted that Andy Sawford, the chairman of this group, is now going to introduce his panel, as it were. Rory Stewart, we're delighted to see from Cumbria MP. I was up with him and with an officer, Justin Griggs, seeing the work on broadband that was being done in Cumbria, and we know the exciting way he cuts through for vision to practicality, and we're looking for it in the big society vision. And over to you, Chairman, to take us through the next stage.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. My name is Andy Sawford. I'm the Chief Executive of the Local Government Information Unit. We are a local democracy think tank and a membership organisation for local government, working mainly historically with principal tier councils. But I'm a big fan of local councils. I think that the time has come for town and parish councils in this country in terms of the new government's agenda around localism, the big society, don't sit on my umbrella, James, localism and the big society. And I would say this, really importantly, that if anybody thinks the big society and decentralisation is about handing power from one set of officials and one part of government to another set of officials and another part of government, i.e. local councils, then I think they've got it wrong. It's about handing power to people. And local councils should be an agent in that, they should be an enabler in that. And of course, town and parish councils have a huge thing to offer us in all of that, because when you think about the community right to own assets, the community right to bid to run services, all of these things that are going to be in the localism and decentralisation bill, and you look at who is going to be the arbiter of the bids that come forward, who is going to hold people to account for spending public money, who is going to make sure that everybody in a community is receiving the services that they're entitled to. Clearly democracy and politics play a critical part in that. And so we have a huge opportunity with social enterprises and co-ops and mutuals and trusts and indeed private enterprise in this whole area. But we also have to recognise that town and parish councils give us a ready-made, democratic, accountable vehicle in local communities to transfer real power and opportunity to ordinary people and citizens. So I'm absolutely delighted to be working with NALC. I worked with Michael and with John Finley and the team at NALC a few years ago to get the power of general competence extended to parish councils. They were shut out of the original legislation in 2000. We got that power extended. We got the ban on parish councils lifted in London, which I think was incredibly important. Yeah. And I heard all the objections of people in London. But frankly, the key to this is that if people want a town and parish council in their area, then they should have the opportunity to form them. If they don't, that's fine. If there are other community organisations that they want to work through, then that's absolutely fine. But they shouldn't be barred from having them. So we made those important changes. Now did a brilliant job. We should now make sure that the power of general competence that we've been arguing for at the LGiU is also something that town and parish councils are included in. And now I'm going to conduct a short exercise in democracy, which is that I was due to chair a sort of panel session discussion Q&A with our two next speakers. And I want you to tell me, do you want to have a panel session and a Q&A, or do you just want to hear briefly from them, because it's late in the evening and there are drinks and so on and there are other receptions. So do you want the Q&A? If you want that, show me hands. If you want short speeches, show me hands. Q&A? Q&A? Okay, short speeches. Okay, it's my absolute... Okay, thank you very much. I'm just doing that because my job is to do this Q&A, but I have a hunch that you'd rather just hear from them and carry on with the evening. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our two speakers. James Morris is the MP for Halesowen and Rowley Regis. He is someone that I'm so pleased is in Parliament because he's a long-standing advocate of localism. He's someone who knows a huge amount about the role of local government. He was one of my peers in the sort of think tank local government community as the Chief Executive of Localis, and he's now in Parliament. He's a member of the CLG Select Committee, and he'll be a great advocate for us. James, a few words about parish councils.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come along this evening. And I know Andy's been doing a great amount of work in advocating the role of parish councils in the whole of the localism agenda. And it seems to me that one of the things about the localism agenda is that we need to use existing structures of local government, both at a metropolitan level and at a parish level, to drive the change which the government is trying to bring into place. What we mustn't do is throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it were, and say we want to invent a whole series of new structures in order to drive this change. We do need to think about more deeper levels of community engagement, but we should certainly be looking to use parish councils as a vital platform for building the roots for the localist change that we want as the government. So, I mean, I think that I think is absolutely vital. Let's not reinvent new structures where really perfectly viable structures already exist.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, James. And brilliantly in the spirit of brevity. It's also my great pleasure to introduce Rory to you. I'm sure many of you have heard Rory speaking on these issues already. He's written in this pamphlet, as has James and I and others from around kind of politics and policy about the role of town and parish councils. Rory, you'll know, has a really interesting set of experiences that he brings into Parliament, having been, for example, in the military. I know you're in the Black Watch, Rory, and other roles, but actually he's already blazing a trail in Parliament. He's the chair of the All-Party Group for Local Democracy. And so I know he's really helping to shape this agenda and has real experiences of town and parish councils in Cumbria. So over to you, Rory.
Well, thank you all very much. Can you hear me clearly at the back?
Yes.
And I'll promise to keep this very short. The big society is one of these funny words. It's a word which has the scent of money about it. So every time I meet someone, they come up and they say, I think, you know, my bicycle factory is really the big society in action. We need to be very careful. The big society is not everything, and the big society is not a pot of money. What it is a very interesting conversation around society. The important thing is not the big bit, but the society bit, and the ways in which that operates in terms of communities. And the big question with the big society, the big question with communities is, who speaks for a community? And that is where local councils come in. It's all very well some neighbourhood group or me myself standing up and saying, I speak on behalf of my community. And there are advantages to that because we want to get it down to the most local neighbourhood level. But it is the parish councils, the town councils, the local councils who have the legitimacy. There are three things above all which are required to get things done for communities: power, knowledge and legitimacy. And it is the people in this room and the councils across Britain represented in this room who know more, who have the knowledge, who care more, who can do more, but most of all have the right to speak for people. That's what we're seeing in Cumbria. That's what you represent. That's why I'm very happy to be here tonight. Thank you very much indeed and have a great evening.
Thanks very much. We've heard from two brilliant parliamentarians who are going to be great advocates for the sector. Give us a moment longer for the chairman of NALC, Michael Chater.
Well, Andy, James and Rory, thank you very much for giving your time this evening to share with us. I think it's a start of a dialogue, and I think the message has been the buck stops here. It's over to you and over to us to take localism forward. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you to you particularly, and welcome to you, because I'm welcome without you present at the time. We're delighted everybody's come. We hope you carry the message. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.